education. 10 cents of every dollar earned is reinvested into the community saved through the Youth College Scholarships. For more information, please go to www.youthfulsavings.com. Email at info@youthfulsavings.com or call 646-504-7164. Times are tough, and right now those in the commercial world know that being heard via advertisements is the name of the game. AmpSquare.tv understands how important advertisement is and is proud to express that it's truly the only plugged-in internet television production company on the market. Amp2.tv live streams all their shows across all the major selling markets in the U.S. and abroad. Call them at 866-224-5422. The AmpSquare.tv library allows productions to be seen over and over again, making commercial platforms more usable. Call 866-224-5422. Toll free 866-224-5422. Amp2.tv. The first and only internet television network that's truly plugged in. 866-224-5422. That's AMP2.TV. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to We Are the People with Tracy Marks and Jorge Estamba, who ask you to know what's happening with your student loan. Tracy and Jorge keep a deep look at student loans in this country and the industries that surround it. Every week, We Are the People will bring you new insight into the corporate welfare industry, such as bailouts, and they connect with student loans. The show will highlight on your constitutional rights and how the current system is built to infringe upon them. Join the conversation by visiting our website chat room at wearethepeople.tv. Or call the show at 888-565-1470 and let us hear from you. And now, let's tune in to Tracy and Jorge for this week's discussion.
Hello and welcome back to We Are the People, Students for Liberty. Jorge is on business this week, and today we're doing a bit of a follow-up from last week's show. I have with me a former professor of mine, Rick Stroll. Say hello, Rick.
Hello, Rick.
He's such a dry comedian. Rick, why don't you tell him a little bit about your background?
It's pretty extensive. I've been doing production and audio and video for a long time. Have multiple degrees, multiple graduate degrees. I paid off a set of student loans for graduate school, and then took out another set of loans, which I will probably never be able to pay off. Taught for a number of years, worked as an engineer, an analyst, doing legal things for a long period of time. But the second set of loans, nothing's been able to pay off because I haven't been able to get the jobs that I was promised would be available to be able to make the money to both survive and pay off the loans.
Aw, gee, and you're not even a Section 8 deadbeat like me. What's the deal? I sit around and drink beer and eat bonbons and just watch soap operas all day. What's your problem?
Well, I aspire to that, but they won't let me on.
They won't?
No.
Oh, man.
For some reason, I can't qualify for the program.
Let's look into the mic.
Okay, I'm supposed to talk into the mic. I have a problem with these phallic objects in my mouth here. Anyway, so back to the story, Rick. You were actually one of my favorite professors, but that's not why you're here. I really had you here because you have an extensive background as far as the Constitution and history go. And also, really, you're not some deadbeat kind of guy that's just laying around on your couch all day. What problems are you having in the job market, and why, do you think?
Well, I think a lot of it is there's an impoverished job market in this country at this point. A lot of people have stopped looking for work because they've been unable to find it.
Well, that's true.
I actually, was laid off about 2 years ago. I knew that was happening. I was teaching at the time, and our enrollments were down for 2-3 years in a row because of the economy. Was unable to find another job. There are plenty of jobs out there for adjuncts. The problem is that an adjunct professor can't make enough money to pay the bills just to be an adjunct professor, let alone to make a living.
Yeah, and last week, Brittany had said that the adjuncts at FAU are making around $3,000 a class. Now,
I
from
would
what
have loved
I
to make that.
remember, that's you'd like to make that
I
one.
would have loved to have made that.
So now, tell us what different types of schools that you've worked in. Give us some details on what the issues with budgeting are and the differences, that kind of thing.
Well, I've worked probably at pretty much the gamut of schools. I've worked at state schools, private nonprofits, and for-profits.
Okay, now, as far as state schools go, when we were talking, you had used several different ways of describing state schools. Would you tell me some of the different ways that people describe state schools that might confuse people? For instance, we have public nonprofit and private nonprofit.
Well, your government schools, whether they be state or city or some other government form, are public nonprofit.
Public nonprofit. Is there any other names that they use when describing a nonprofit or a government school?
It's a government school. It might be a state school.
Okay.
Usually they're state schools.
Okay. Because we had like 3 different.
Community college,
Okay.
would be a government school or a state school. It might be a county school. It might be a city school.
So how is their budgeting different from, say, a for-profit school? We were both at AIU, and you were at AIU and Lynn, I believe, weren't you? Those are both for-profits, are they not?
Lynn is a private nonprofit. AIU is a for-profit. So it's a corporate school. Now, each of these organizations is incorporated, so they are corporate to a certain degree. A for-profit school is a school that has shareholders or that has ownership, other than the state or other than some governmental entity.
They're individuals, and a lot of them are mom and pops, figuratively speaking. They're kind of big for mom, but you even have restaurant chains that are small, but yet they're still
Right.
corporate.
They're all different sizes. You can have the University of Florida where you've got 50 or 60,000 students, including graduate students. That's a state school, right? But it's a lot larger than some schools that are state schools or that are government schools. You might have, I'm not sure what Florida Atlantic is, but it's across the highway from Lynn University, which is a private nonprofit. And Lynn, has somewhere
Which
around
means it's
2,500
privately
students.
owned. Lynn is privately
Lynn
owned.
is privately owned,
Okay.
but it's nonprofit. Okay.
Which
So it's a
only
not-for-profit
means that
corporation.
nonprofits means that the governing board, can have salaries as high as they like. And just so you know, there's something like 29 different types of nonprofits out there now. It's not just 501c3s. And a lot of the stuff you see now is C4s. But anyway, so how does this affect the student loan issue?
Well, I think there are several issues involved. One of them is their cost structure.
Okay.
The state schools have a certain budget from the state government, which reduces theoretically the amount of tuition that students pay, or at least in-state students. Right? And we've had some issue with that in terms of in the state of Florida, whether the state schools are going to give illegal aliens in-state tuition. So there's been an argument about that in the legislature, which just concluded. We'll see what the government does with the legislation, whether he signs it or vetoes it. But the tuition costs less because it is subsidized by tax money.
So therefore, the for-profits, they always claim that they're saving the taxpayer money by having a for-profit school. I mean, that was one thing that I was actually told.
For-profit schools, the student pays the full freight. the full cost.
You definitely got that right.
And that's quite expensive, or can be quite expensive, and probably is quite expensive. But by the time the funds filter down to the faculty and to the staff, the lower staff, the staff that keeps the place running, those salaries are not princely in any way, shape, or form. Many professors are seeking grants, all right, so that they can pay themselves or have themselves paid more money than they would get strictly through tuition. Now, tuition is based on the number of students attending your classes. So faculty members are paid based on having a certain minimum number of students in classes.
So, but it seems to me that when they do budget cuts, they're cutting down here on these lower levels, but yet these people that are the heads of these corporations, for instance, AIU people may not have made that much money, but those in their parent company, CEC, would be making huge money. As a matter of fact, Lord, before he stepped down, one of the reasons he did is because during 07, 08, when profits were extremely high, but everybody else was going to the toilet, I mean, he built himself a golf course. So, you know, how do you get a handle on something like that? And what does this say about our Constitution and our, I mean, is there any protection there? Although it doesn't seem like the Constitution has much protection anymore.
You know, there are limitations, and, you know, Constitution, generally speaking, applies to government. All right, it doesn't apply to the private sector. All right, so when we're operating in the private sector, which the for-profit schools are, right, and even the private nonprofits, they're operating in the private sector.
So basically they have very little regulation.
They're regulated based on two things. They're based on business law and whatever business law allows, including you know, the law boards, and, you know, and their boards of trustees, and they're also based on the requirements of accreditation agencies, because these schools need to have accreditation from some agency in order to give their degrees, the degrees that they give out to their students, some value.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take a quick pause right here, and we will be back when we're going to talk about Rick's student loans and what happened there. All right, we'll be right back.
CPA for the People provides CPA services and business consulting for innovative creators. Collaborative, personal, affordable. We specialize in tax consulting, business consulting, financial statement compilation, and personal finance. For more information, please go to www.cpaforthepeople.com or call at area code 630-244-7893. Youthful Savings creates and delivers innovative financial education products through a virtuous approach in order to disrupt the cycle of poverty. We provide affordable college planning solutions through our Financial Freedom web application and program, youth financial education and entrepreneurship training through our My Own Business Challenge curriculum and program, and group youth programs that teach entrepreneurship and financial education. 10 cents of every dollar earned is reinvested into the community saved through the Youth College Scholarships. For more information, please go to www.youthfulsavings.com. Email at info@youthfulsavings.com or call 646-504-7164. Times are tough, and right now those in the commercial world know that being heard via advertisements is the name of the game. AmpSquare.tv understands how important advertisement is and is proud to express that it's truly the only plugged-in internet television production company on the market. Amp2.tv live streams all their shows across all the major selling markets in the U.S. and abroad. Call them at 866-224-5422. The AmpSquare.tv library allows productions to be seen over and over again, making commercial platforms more usable. Call 866-224-5422. Toll free 866-224-5422. Amp2.tv, the first and only internet television network that's truly plugged in. 866-224-5422. 5422. That's AMP, the number 2.TV. You're listening to We Are the People with social justice advocates Tracy Marks and Jorge Estamba, exposing the faults in our current day society with industries that directly influence student loans. Join the conversation by calling into the studio at 888-565-1470 or join the chat room at wearethepeople.tv. Again, to call in, the number is 888-565-1470 and let us hear your voice. Now, back to our show.
And we're back. This is We Are the People, Students for Liberty. And if you'd like to ask Rick any questions or you have comments to make, you can call us toll free at 1-888-565-1470. If you're listening to us on WNN, we're at 1470 on the AM dial. And if you'd like to see us in person, you can visit our website, wearethepeople.tv, where this is running simultaneously along with our radio show. We can actually do video chat now too as well. So, Rick, now your student loan situation. Lately I've been talking to a lot of people in their 70s and 80s. I don't know why, that's just who's been there for me lately. And what I keep finding is from each and every one of them, when I tell them what's happened with my student loans, I'll say, yeah, it's a $40,000 loan. I paid about $35,000 to $38,000. I owe them $48,000, and they go, oh my God! When I was in school, it was capped at 3%, and they were paying like anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000, depending on what year it was and what the degree was. But the point is, they were capped at 3%. You could basically work a summertime job and pay off your student loans, or at least keep up with them. And now today, that's not the case. And you've gotten loans from several different time periods. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, and then focus in on what's happened with this last bad loan. So we've got about 10 minutes to go.
I'm probably a dinosaur as far as student loan era is concerned. I had some student loans from many decades ago for graduate school, and I paid those off.
Okay, well, how much did they run, and what were they for?
They were probably $3,000, $3,500, and I had a coupon book, and each month I'd pull a coupon off and pay that coupon. Or if I wanted to pay several of them, I'd pay 2 or 3 of them off at a time until I finally got them paid off.
Well, and now, unless you put everything in special writing and do that, it's not the old days where you can put 2 principal, you send them in 2 separate checks, and they won't do that anymore. You have to actually write them a letter. Well, and then that changes every time, too. So the rules change. There's no way to keep up with the information. There's just no way.
Now, about 20 years ago, I was foolish enough. I was in a situation where the jobs that I was training people for as a senior management analyst, I was training the junior analysts and helping them develop. They were getting the jobs that I was going for because I was the wrong EEO classification. I don't begrudge them the jobs.
Meaning you didn't have the education that they wanted.
I had the education. Well, I had the education and I had the experience, but I was the wrong racial classification. Is what it comes down to. All right. So I wasn't a protected class, and those people that I was training were protected classes, and every time I'd go for a job, one of those folks was getting that job. Now, I don't begrudge those folks those jobs, but there ought to be a job for me someplace.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you
I decided to go back to school, to graduate school, all right? And I'd been to graduate school. I already had 2 graduate degrees at that point. What am I going to do? Well, I knew a lot of people that had PhDs, and they weren't working. So I decided, let me go to law school. And I did that, and I did a Master of Laws as well. I was convinced, I was told, all right, there are plenty of jobs, there's blue skies out there for people with this degree. So if you take the loans that you need to be able to go to school, and of course I had a family, 3 children at the time to raise, so I needed more money than just a student that's crashing with a bunch of other students in a house someplace. I needed that money to be able to support that family. Mm-hmm. So I took the loans because I was told, all right, well, you graduate, we'll help you get a job.
Yeah, McDonald's.
Well, there are plenty of jobs out there that are
Well,
going to
for
pay
a long
you.
time, they were marking those McDonald's jobs as,
Well, I guess you could
fine,
earn relatively more at McDonald's than you can now.
well, Burger King has a college. I don't know.
Well, that's true, but McDonald's does too, I think. They got Hamburger University and Hamburger High School, and
So what was the difference in the loans that you took out back then and what it cost you with the last one?
my original loans probably cost me a total of $3,000 for a year and a half or 2 years.
Now,
My
did you
law
say you
school
had-
loans cost me closer to $100,000.
Okay, now did you actually take out that amount of money, or has it grown into that because of compound
Well, that was the
interest?
amount of money that I took out.
Was $100,000.
The interest now at this point, and the extra charges that they laid on, 20 or 30%, for quote unquote collection fees, things that I never saw,
Right.
or never got any benefit from. We're probably talking around $200,000 at this point and growing. The loans are in default because I never had a job that allowed me enough money to both survive and to pay off loans.
Well, and you're a smart guy. I mean, you did the math ahead of time, right? So, I mean, I know I did. According to what I read and to what they told me and showed me on paper and on the different websites, if I had come out and made the $46,000 or $45,000 starting pay that I was told I would get, especially with my transferable skills, I would have been all right. Of course, that has never happened, which is exactly what's happening to you. So basically what really needs to happen here is we need to work on this whole compound interest issue, for one thing. I mean,
Well, compound interest, but
how long have your loans been accruing interest and penalties now?
we're talking fully 20 years at this point.
You've been in default for 20 years?
I've been in default for about maybe 10 years, 12 years, something like that. That's because I had forbearance for a period of time.
Oh yeah, I went through that too.
But never been able to get a job. The first job I had, all right, I made $45,000 a year, but I had no benefits.
Right, so every time you go to the doctor, it's-
But the part of the problem with that job was that it was really a speculative job, and I never knew if I was going to get a paycheck or not. Because my boss, the company that I was working for, didn't really have enough money, so they were depending on their clients to pay them on a timely basis, and I never knew whether they were going to get paid. So I never knew when I was going to get paid or if I was going to get paid. And for some periods, I wouldn't get paid for several months at a time. So how do you make a commitment to make payments on something when you don't know if you're going to have any money?
True, and that's happening a lot. Now, I did a lot of faux finishing and that type of thing when I was in school. I did a lot of different things. But the faux finishing was what I liked the best. But my point being, okay, back then when I first started in school, 2003, the money was, people were making money still. Things were starting to go, I think, but people didn't realize it yet. And then another year later, Sally Mae goes private, and then they stripped the rest of the, protections. And now what's happening, though, and it's not just your type of jobs that are doing this. For the faux finishing, all those people that are carpenters, painters, this kind of thing, what's happening now is there is a project manager that runs all these jobs. They no longer give you money up front for supplies, which is what most of these people need. Okay, and yeah, I mean, my youngest son's dad has worked a year on projects and never gotten a penny for it and had to foot that bill for all his supplies and materials, because it's either you do it our way or you don't get the job. We watched a lot of people that we had known in little businesses revolved around different things, painters especially. 20, 35 years in business, and now they no longer have jobs. I mean, they no longer have businesses because they just can't do it anymore. So anyway, we're going to have to wrap up the show. We never seem to have enough time, but my goal here is to have you look into these things. There's a lot of things seriously wrong in this country nowadays, and there's a lot of things going on that are just flat out illegal and unconstitutional. And unless the people come together, we're going to be in big trouble in not too long. So come back next week. We'll have more things to share. And if you get a chance, please go to Facebook and type in "We Are the People Students for Liberty." You're welcome to join the group. And if you go to the files, you'll find all our different informational type help. All right? So thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Have a great night.
You have been listening to We Are the People with social advocates Tracy Marks and Jorge Estamba, who every week bring to the light the needs and changes in our current system. Tune in every Monday night at 7 p.m. on wearethepeople.tv and participate in the conversation in the chat room or call 888-565-1470. Tune in next Monday for more information and facts. And Tracy and Jorge remind you to stay aware of your surroundings and challenges at all times. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. CPA for the People provides CPA services and business consulting for innovative creators. Collaborative, personal, affordable. We specialize in tax consulting, business consulting, financial statement compilation, and personal finance. For more information, please go to www.cpaforthepeople.com or call at area code 630